You know, I've talked to so many people right in the last couple of weeks that, you know, we struggle going through different things, whether you're young or old, whatever it might be, in the middle of life, your marriages, your job situations, your health. And, you know, I said, Lord, where do you want me to go with the next series? What do you want me to look at, to speak on? And I really believe the Lord was, it's okay, you can come back. But I want us to focus on the next 4 weeks, maybe a little bit longer, on God's promises. You know, as a Christian, the devil wants to destroy our testimony, but he wants to accuse us. He says his greatest tool that he uses against us is he's an accuser of the brother. He wants you to forget who you are in Jesus. And I want you to remember through the next 4 weeks who you are in Jesus and the promises that you have today as a Christian. You have promises, I have promises as a Christian that the world doesn't have. And we're going to look at God's promises to you, and in order to do that, we have to understand about His promises, and that's what we're going to look at today as we start this series. And I want you to turn to the book of, I believe it's the book of Hebrews in chapter 13. Hebrews chapter 13, and we're going to look at verses 5 and 6. Let's pray. Father, Lord, again, I'm just so grateful every week. Lord, as we come into this place, and Lord, so many people are continue to bring in friends and family and visitors, and Father, we need you. And Lord, we know that you are there for us, but for some reason we hedge, or we think we're not worthy, we've done too much wrong, or whatever it might be, or whatever it is. But Lord, may we see today that we don't have to be afraid because of the promises that we have in you. Lord, let me just come to you again, and just with all the people as we pray right now, we're coming before you. Again, Lord, help us to see today. See clearly you, that we see you, Jesus, and we don't have to be afraid. Powerful name, I ask these things. Thank you, Jesus. Amen. You know, I've never seen a time in a culture, what we're facing in our world, how afraid people are. Isn't it unbelievable? You know, you can turn the news, and all of a sudden a trend happens, it changes. And over a period of weeks, no one ever even, it happened a few years ago, and it's popped back up. Didn't even know, heard of Ebola, and all that we hear. People are afraid. Comes on the breaking news in New York and all over the state, all over the United States, Fox News, CNN, all these different things about Ebola, the Mideast, what's taking place, all those different things. What Russia's doing, all the other things. And then we bring it even closer to where, into things in our United States and what's happening with, I'm so thankful for our police officers, our deputy sheriffs, and our highway patrol, and just lately the blatantness of no thought of life, of all the different things that we see, of police officers being shot in our country, all these different things, and how people are afraid to go everywhere. And we don't blame anybody for not wanting to go. We live in this culture of fear, and there's no respect of life. And as we see that, it pours into our spirit, and it gets to where we're fearful. And even as I can go to say that, using that word again, culture. We live in a culture of fear. Now, not all of Hollywood is bad. You know, I don't want to say they want to give you this, but you know, on Sunday nights, and after I'm just kind of winding down from so many different things from the weekend and preparing and all the other things and going into the message, I just sit there and I don't watch hardly any television, except usually on Sunday night. I sit there and I just kind of take it, the button, just channel surf. Don't watch anything in particular. I just boom, 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 boom. There might be some on sports, there might be a TV show, there might be the news. Anyway, so I'm going to hit you a little bit when I talk about this, if you watch this show. There was a show that I've heard about for the last, I don't know how many years it's been on, and you've probably heard about it. Maybe a lot of you haven't watched it, like I haven't watched it. So all I ever heard about was this big show on cable when it just came back out a couple weeks ago. 22 million viewers watched it, and it's called, yes, now you'll probably know, it's called The Walking Dead. And I thought, I've heard so much about this show that I'm just going to see what it's about. And I started watching this, and then I started saying, is this what people are actually, being entertained by? There's survivalists, and they're hiding from the zombies, and there's also other bad guys that are hiding, and there's good bad guys and bad guys, but there's the zombies that are after everybody. And the way to destroy them, and the way that they shoot them, and the way that they stab them, and then the way, it's just, I'm going like, by the time the show is over, did I really want to go to bed? Is that really a relaxing time? No wonder so many people can't sleep at night after they're done watching television. If it's not that show, then there's the talking head shows to where I don't even want to watch those anymore because they're screaming. This side says this, and this side said this, and they're yelling back and forth at each other, and all these different things. There's a culture that we live in today that is fearful. And I want you to recognize that today. Everywhere you go, there is a culture of fear. Whether it's entertainment, whether it's what you see on the news, or what you're hearing in your everyday life. And if you walk in and live in that, it will really scare you, take you off of who you are as a Christian. Actually, let me get back to that Walking Dead for a minute. I'm not done. My sister-in-law has cancer, and it's not good, and hopefully that you'll pray for her. Anyways, I wanted to send her something it was about a couple months ago. And so, if you ever sent this, it's kind of cool, but it's, I wanted to send Martha something. Anyways, the Vermont teddy bears, if you ever seen those, so I sent her the Vermont teddy bears. So, well, now, every week, I'm getting their emails and all those different things. And wouldn't you know it, when I'm talking about right now about The Walking Dead, I look for this time of year with Halloween and everything, I look on my email and it says for the Vermont teddy bears, you can get a walking Ted to send to somebody that you know. And I hit it to see what it looked like, and it was a zombie teddy bear. And I'm like, what is wrong with people? Are they actually entertained by that? I don't get it. You cannot sleep you could not sleep. If you saw the show of what I saw last Sunday night, you would not be able to sleep. I thought, how in the world are people being entertained by this? But what I'm getting at is, we don't realize, because we have kind of slowly moved into that as a culture, and we're living in this today, in this culture of fear. Everybody's afraid. I want you to recognize that you don't have to live like everybody else. You don't have to, yes, you have to have wisdom. That's what we're going to look at today. But I want you to know, as the Bible tells us in Hebrews chapter 13 and verses 5 and 6. Hebrews chapter 13 and verses 5 and 6. Let your conduct be without covetousness. Be content with such things as you have. For he himself has said, this is a promise. We're going to understand, we're going to look at God's promises through this series. I will never leave you nor forsake you, so we may boldly say, the Lord is my helper. I will not fear. What can man do to me? What is your greatest? What are you fearful of today? What could it be? And if I could ask the majority of people today that are living in the world, you know what it is? In many times, it's your finances. It's what you're dealing with financially. I've never seen a time to where it's so changed. And if you're in here and you're my generation, you remember the generation that's just above us a little bit. And that generation in the area that we lived in here, in the Summit County area, or Canton area, Akron, Canton, so many families grew up to where someone in their family worked at one of the tire shops. Worked at General, or worked at Goodyear, or Firestone, Goodrich, and you know what? You started there. You know, if you only worked there 10 years, people thought, wow, you've only been here 10 years. I mean, now if you work somewhere 10 years, it's like you've been there a long time. Years ago, if you just worked somewhere 10 years, you're just getting started. All the guys and ladies that worked at the tire shop, they were there like 30 years, put everything in. And when I look at my parents' generation, everybody had this time where, you know what, you had your job, it was secure, you know where you were going. You went on 2 weeks vacation, everything was good. If you were at the tire shops, everything medically was paid when you went to the doctor. It was as those can look back at it, was an amazing time, and it was a certain time. And things were good, and all these different things were happening. Now, what's happened now in this generation that is lower than that and is coming along is that we're not certain of anything financially. And you don't know if even you're going to have a job this week. That's where we're at. And people are scared. People are afraid. You know, let me just share a little bit about me. And I think sometimes it brings it down home when I can share, because if I'm getting afraid or something is bothering me, and I think in many ways we're all the same, and it affects you too. And, you know, when I was going through everything I was going through for those several years, blew my finances apart. I'm so grateful today. I just don't take for granted at all the city church and how good that you're paying me, and I love what I do, and it's amazing. But during that time, as I'm going through all that, let's just say my credit score went south, and I used to be the one like 800 and something, you know, all that, you know, if you're there in that section, you know, you're doing, you know how well you're doing. But anyways, way up there, well, you know, mine just went past Florida, past Cuba, down to the equator, and it's just still going. But anyways, okay, so I want you to get this. So when that happens, when your credit score goes down, you get some very nice letters from credit card companies, you know. Like, you know, we're either not going to let you have a credit card anymore, or you used to be able to have this limit, now we're going to cut you down to 3 cents. We'll let you borrow 3 pennies, and you'll be good just to get enough and you get. Anyway, so here's what I'm getting at, about fear. So a few weeks ago, I had to go I loved it, was able to go do a wedding for a girl who grew up at our house, Emily, just the sweetest girl, we loved doing the wedding and so forth. Well, gracious, her husband now, but at the time, her bride and groom paid for me to come. In other words, they paid for the hotel and the rental car and the airfare. So I'm flying, but guess what I'm thinking as I'm flying on the way there? And this is where we're all at today. There's some of you in your finances, and you can't help it, you're afraid. I'm on the plane, and this is all I'm thinking. It's getting later at night, the plane's getting in late, and I know as I go to Avis Rent-A-Car, they always put a hold, whether or not it's paid for or not, they're going to put a hold on your credit card to make sure that if anything happens to the car, even though it's paid for, that they got you. So all I'm thinking on the plane is, I don't have enough on either one of my credit cards. If they put a hold on it, I guess I'm walking 2 hours south. So get there, get in late, get to the Avis Rent-A-Car, and I'm praying, Lord, because I've been through this before. Everywhere I've gone to give a credit card, if I'm going to speak somewhere, they're going to put a $300 hold on your credit card for your rental car. I get there, I'm just praying at the counter, and I'm just, she goes, can I have your license? Yes, I give her a license. She goes, can I have your credit card? I said, oh boy, here we go. I'm like, and she takes the credit card, and I said, do you need that? And she said, yeah, but I only need it just in case there's a problem. I said, you're not going to put anything on it, you're none? Now, I'm saying it calmly, but the way I just said it to you, that's why I'm feeling inside. And she goes, oh no, I just need the number just in case if there's a problem. I was like, oh, thank you, Lord. That doesn't happen on her. And I didn't ask her why that was happening that way. And I got out of there as fast as I could and got in that car and took off. So here's my point. If you're a single mom, if you're where you are, the least little thing today, so many people cannot relate with this, but the least little thing, you get your kids ready, all these things happen, but you get in your car to go to work, and something starts to go wrong on the way to work, and you probably almost start crying before you get to work because you know that you do not have the resources to pay for what needs to get paid to fix that vehicle. That's the society that we live in today. That is the fear that is there today. A buddy of mine owns a car shop, and many people, he says, Dow, he says, I can hear them calling on the phone. They don't have the money to get the car fixed. Guess who they're calling? They're calling either grandpa or grandma. They don't have it. They don't have it. They're barely getting by. This is where most people are today. So what I want to do to bring that in, to let you know that God's Word promises you, God promises you that I will never leave you nor forsake you. That's a promise. No matter what you're going through financially, no matter where you're getting hit, no matter what you're about to face, I will never leave. You know where that is coming from in the Bible? It's in the New Testament. But you know where it actually is coming from? It's ironic. We're talking about promises and God's promises today. Joshua was just getting ready to take all the children of Israel into the promised land. And God speaks to him as he spoke to Moses. Moses has now passed away, and God speaks to him, your way will be prosperous. That's you today. Your way will be prosperous. This is what he says to Joshua, as he's going into the promised land. There's giants in the land. They're going to have battles they're going to fight, but I have promised you a life of joy and blessing. Joshua, I've promised you that. I will never leave you or forsake you. You're here today. God has promised you, I will never leave you or forsake you. Why does it say, I don't have to wonder and be covetous of what someone else has? It's because of what Jesus wants to do for you. He wants to bless you. You don't have to be fearful today. No matter what you've been through, He's got you covered. He told Joshua, he brings it up to the New Testament, and he says, I will never leave you nor forsake you. So you and I today, as we are here worshiping the Lord, we may say, the Lord is my helper. I will not fear. What can man do to me? Do you know how many letters I got from creditors? You know when they used to cancel the credit card? I used to, your credit card now canceled. Oh, good. I don't have to make that phone call. Throw the letter. Then the next one, then the next one, then the next. You know how many times? And all the, what are you gonna do? Come get me? SWAT team gonna come in and get me with letter after letter. My phone would have all the missed calls were all read, and they were all creditors for months. I finally got the places I don't care anymore. What can man do here? Here's what I'm saying is, don't be afraid when you get in that situation. Don't try and figure it out. I don't know why you've had to go through what you've had to go through. That's past. Don't figure out. When you're there and you're going through it and you're still in the middle of it, I want you to know that the Lord is with you. He's with you. You can't figure it out. You don't know why this has happened in your life. You've tried to do what you've done, and here you are in the middle of this. The Lord is with you, even though it doesn't look like it. He is there. He is with you. He's promised you, I will never leave you, and I'm never going to forsake you. As we build on that, what's the second thing we can look at today? I want you to look over in, I believe we're looking at Timothy, but the other verse we'll look at is 1 John chapter 4. 1 John chapter 4. 1 John chapter 4, and we're going to look at verse 18. we don't want to be afraid today, if we don't want to fear, we want to understand even more of His promises. See, when you understand a promise is not so much about what you've been through yesterday or what you're actually. Promise is for you for the future. Your future has hope. You hold on to that promise, and you know God is going to come through. That being the case, as we look at this second aspect today, we see the security of knowing who we are in Jesus. 1 John chapter 4, verse 18. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, because fear involves torment. But he who fears has not been made perfect in love. We love Him because He first loved us. You know what? If you came and grew up in a loving home, it's very difficult to imagine not being loved. But there's a lot of people today that don't feel loved. There's a lot of people today that the only love that they've ever felt is dysfunctional. There was always something attached to it. Or they were controlled, or if you did everything just right, you might get a reward or some type of affection. You understand, we have a world today that so wants to be loved. Everybody is so afraid today because there's not security in their life. See, when you know that you know that you know that you're loved, there's an amazing security in that. The Bible says, for God so loved you that He gave His only begotten Son for you and for me. He loved you and I know. And I want you to know today that maybe you have struggled with that. I want you to know God's promise for you today. God tells you today that He loves you more than you could ever imagine. Just you. All you've been through, everything, whatever, it's all God. Doesn't matter to Him. Why? Because when you accepted Jesus as your Savior, and He came into your heart to live, you are now God's child. And God loves you with a love that you can't imagine. He so loves you that the strength, when you begin to recognize that more and more, it's not how you perform. It's not what you did or you think you're going to do for Him. And yes, the Lord is going to be happy with you because you did something for Him. No, you do what you do for Him just because you want to worship Him, because you know how much He loves you. Do you know today? Do you stop and think today how much? Will you really realize the promise that we have? That He loves you so much. Just you. Do you understand? I want us all to understand how it will take the fear out of our life. When you know that someone loves you so much, here's the word I want you to remember. There is a security that comes into your heart that you know no matter what you face, someone loves you so much, God loves you so much, that you're so secure in His love. He's got you covered. No matter what it is. No matter how unsure, no matter how beaten up you're in the world, no matter how you were raised, God loves you. See, the promise is this. You accepted His Son as your Savior. And the love that He has for you because of Jesus, I can't put it into words. I just want you to know it's there. And the more that you experience, the more strength that you have because you're His child. You're His child. Did you get that? You are His child. One that will never look at you, down on you for your past or what you've done or all these different things. He loves you. He promised you that He would love you unendingly. All we have to do is accept this. He even goes as far as to say, I loved you even when you were in the midst of your sin. Still loved you. Do you think how much more He's going to love you when you took a step of faith and accepted Christ your Savior? I don't know what you're going through, but I know the promise that you have today, that you're secure in His love. He'll never leave you. He'll never. You're driving along in your car and you wonder what's going to happen. I want you to recognize Jesus is right there. Let me read it again. We're going to go to the third verse. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, because fear involves torment. But he who fears has not been made perfect in love. We love Him because He first loved us. You have been made perfect through His Son, Jesus Christ. Yes, we're going to still mess up and do things we shouldn't do. We need to go to the Lord and say, Lord, I did this and I said this, and Lord, help me, forgive me. Yes, we need to do that. But know that you have no idea how Jesus looks at you. He loves you. And He's there for it. And He'll continue. His promise is that you have been made perfect in His love. Now let's look at the third thing today. Beginning to see this and understand this a little bit more, that we don't have to fear because we know that He's never going to leave us. Why? Because we accepted Him and we are perfected in His love. And now we're going to look at another verse. In 1 Timothy, what's the promise? Let's understand this a little bit more. In 1 Timothy, or 2 Timothy, chapter 1, verse 7. This is a promise to you today. Where you're at in your marriage, where you're at work, where you're at personally, you can't sleep at night, whatever it might be. This is God's promise to you today in the culture that we live in the world that is so afraid today. God's promise that we understand is this. 2 Timothy chapter 1 and verse 7. For God has not given, notice, given. You don't have to work for it. You don't have to perform and make sure God's all happy with everything you did last week and all these certain things. God has given you this. It is a promise. You have it right now. Recognize it. For God has not given us a spirit of fear. A spirit of fear. But of power and of love and of a sound mind. Of power and love and a sound mind. I want to focus. I think most of us know that the power that we have today is we know the Holy Spirit's within us. He is there. He is working. And you have it right now. He loves you. He's there for you. But I want you to focus on this thing. I want you to focus on a sound mind. You know what I believe the Lord's telling us a sound mind is? He's giving you this promise that you can understand, that you don't have to be afraid because you see life in a different way. See, you don't have to be afraid. I don't have to be. Let me give you one aspect of it. We don't have to be afraid because whatever we hear in the news today when we leave here, we know as a Christian, we're going to heaven. What can man do to me? Nothing. We're going to heaven. Whether it's a creditor, whether it's your boss, whether it's an ex-mate, I don't know who it might be. Where are you afraid? What can man do to me? You don't have, one aspect is, you know you don't have to be afraid in this crazy, fearful world that we live in because you understand today as a Christian, we're going to heaven, regardless of what happens. See what that does, right? You see. We see things, life, in a different way. I want you to see today, I want you to understand that you have the power within you, in your Holy Spirit, to see life. It is a promise of God that you will see life in a different way. We will if we just walk with Him. He's going to let us see differently. Now let me give you an example. You know about my dogs if they've been coming here for a while. But there's a problem. There's a problem if you have a puppy, and let's say if you're like me, all around 1 or 2 in the morning, the refrigerator's calling, and you're laying in bed, and it's time to have well, past the midnight snack. And you're going to go get a glass of water, soda, cookies, peanut butter sandwich, chips, Cheetos, another cookie, well, whatever. So you're going to the kitchen. But now you got a puppy. It's pitch black. Puppies kind of leave things, you know, in the middle of the night. Now, I'm not going to go into detail, but it happens sometimes. You've all been there, middle of the night, you go in the kitchen, get some, wham, there it is. You just stepped right in it. I won't go any further than that. But here's what I want you to get. Here's what I want you to understand. It's pitch black. You can't see it. You're going to step in it. Now, can I make it any clearer? Here's what I'm getting at, and we're going to turn the verse in. And I got excited when I put these, the Lord let me put these verses together. It was only Him last night. We're going to close it just a minute. Here's what I want you to get. As long as a Christian, even as a Christian, you want to live in the dark, you want to walk in the dark, guess what's going to happen? You're going to step in it. God's not going to make it happen. Nobody else is going to make it happen. You, me, we're going to make it happen. And guess what? It's a mess to clean up. Who did that? I did. You did. It's pitch black. But now here's the key. We're going to close with this. What does all through the Bible, Old and New Testament, tell us about Jesus? The promise is Jesus is the light. The light that never goes out. Now, in the morning, if the same thing would have happened and I wouldn't have had my nightly run to the refrigerator, I'd have got up in the morning, no big deal. I walk out, I see the mess, no problem. I walk around, clean up, but no, it's no big deal. I just walk around it. When you live in the light, you see in such a way you're not in the dark. See, the devil's not so tempting you to say, oh, it'll be fun. Oh, it's going to be fun. It's good. Oh, let's try it my way. No, I'm going to go this way, that way. And we mess it up and we step in it. When we can see in the light, do we understand the promise of God? When you walk in the light, how much easier life is. What it can be. And this is what I want to close with. It's not on the screen. I just wanted to read it to you. It's in the book of John, if you want to read it later today. And I'm going to read verses 1 through 7. But I want you to listen to this first part. The Bible says in the very first book, God said, very first chapter, few words down, God said, let there be light. Let me put it in this way, because Jesus has always been here. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. God said, very first book of the Bible, let there be Jesus. And there's light. Jesus is the light. You're reminded of it as you walk out of here today. At night you see the moon and the stars, and let's close with this. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God, and all things were made through Him. And without Him, nothing was made that was made. In Him was life. Life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not comprehend it. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. This man came for a witness to bear witness of the light, that all through him might believe. Here's what I want you to know about God's promise. Understand it. When we're with Jesus, the light in our life is always on. Let me say it again. When we're with Jesus, the light in our life, been there from the beginning of time. God said, let there be light. Let there be Jesus. Right then, light. Jesus is the light. When you are with Jesus and you walk with Him in the light, you'll see, you'll be able to know when you're tempted, when there's wrong decisions, when there's problems, or when you're afraid. You're not afraid. I can guarantee you, any of you will go to the grocery store or at the mall in the middle of the day because it's light. So many people don't want to go at night. I understand it. It's not safe. It's not safe when you and I as a Christian decide, oh, we're just going to walk a little bit in the dark. It's not safe. You get afraid. It's not safe. You make wrong decisions. But when you, after you believed as a Christian, you walk in the light with Jesus, I want you to know, you'll see a mess out there, you'll make the sermon, you'll see all these things. I don't get involved in that. Because the light of Jesus shines on you, and the reflection goes into this light, and He lights your path. And you want joy and peace and an unbelievable success in this life as Joshua faced. God promised you, I will never leave you. I'll never forsake you. God promised you, I will help you see every decision that you have to make in life. And if it's bad, you're going to go right around it, or you're going to go through it because I'm with you, and you can see it. And He's promised you. What are you facing today? Where do you need some light to see? All you got to say, Jesus, I can't figure it out. I don't see it. And as long as I don't know what to do, I'm in the dark. Guess what we're supposed to do? We're supposed to do this. Just sit down, and we're going to sit down, and we're not going to make that decision till we can see. As God said, we might just have to sit for a little bit. And that's okay. I want you to know today, maybe you are in the dark. And you're not sure what's going on. I want you to know Jesus is right there with you. You don't have to be afraid. And all of a sudden you're sitting there and you're sitting there and you feel His love. And when you feel His love, just you, there is a light that begins to come into your life. And you're ready to go again. And you're ready to face whatever it is in the world because you are so secure. You get it. You understand. Because you're in hold of His promise. That you know, that you know, that you know that He's with you. Let's pray. As our heads are bowed today, what is it? Where is it right now? Right now, as a Christian, that you're afraid. That you're afraid. Where is it right now? Nobody else has to know. God will know. Jesus is right. He wants to take it from you. See, you are secure in His love just because you're His child. And when you know that you're loved, there's a security that you know you're going to heaven. We know that we're going to heaven, and we don't have to be afraid. No matter what news you hear this week, no matter what phone call you get or text message or what you hear about something that's happening in your family, you don't have. Yes, initially we're going to be afraid we live in this body. But ultimately, we know we're here to be reminded today. I want you to know as you leave this place that there is so much love for you in the Lord Jesus. He's got a plan for your life. He will so light your way because He is light. He is complete light, and He'll show you with a sound mind every decision you make. And sometimes you just got to wait. And that's hard. Please don't be afraid today. Know that the Lord is with you. Understand His promises. That He loves you. That He's with you. And when the Bible says you're so tested by the fires of life, He says, I will be with you. He's promised you. He's promised You, just you. He's with you. I want you to get that today. And He'll show you what to do. Father, if there's someone here today that doesn't have what we've talked about in your word, you've promised us eternal life. And we know so many of us today, we're secure in this world and so uncertain, but the daily things of life that we get afraid. Lord, let us know you're with us. You won't leave us. You'll never forsake us. Father, you love us so much that you will let us see this life with your light. And Lord, if there's someone searching today for what has been spoken through your word, they're tired, they don't want to live life like they've been living it. They've been living in the dark too long. Lord, may they accept your light, your love, and you will forgive them for all their sins. Lord, as we give this invitation, may they come today and find you as their Savior, find heaven as their home, and know that they don't have to be afraid what they face, not only in this life, but for all eternity. In Jesus' name, amen. Will you stand with us as Jim leads us today?